The Seth material is a vast collection of books channeled by Jane Roberts from an entity calling himself Seth. It presents a comprehensive metaphysical system that is philosophical, psychological, and spiritual in nature. Its core teachings are interwoven, but can be broken down into several key principles. 1. You create your own reality. This is the most famous and central tenet. It does not mean simply wishing for things, but that our beliefs, expectations, and emotional states, conscious and unconscious, literally shape our physical experience. The world is a mirror of our inner landscape. Every event, circumstance, and interaction is a materialization of our beliefs. 2. The multidimensional self. The self is not a single monolithic entity. Seth describes it as a multidimensional personality with several aspects. The physical ego, the part of you focused in the physical world. The inner ego or consciousness core, the deeper, more aware part of you that directs your overall development. The soul or entity, the vast, non-physical oversoul of which you are an individualized part. The soul is not finished, but is constantly expanding through all its physical and non-physical experiences. 3. The power of beliefs. Beliefs are the building blocks of reality. They are not just intellectual ideas, but powerful psychological and psychic structures that form our perception and create our experience. Unexamined negative beliefs can create persistent problems. The path to change, therefore, involves identifying and challenging limiting beliefs. 4. The nature of reality, probabilities, and the value fulfillment. Probable realities. At every moment, infinite probable events and actions exist. Our focus, powered by our beliefs, collapses one probability into our physical reality. Other probable selves live out the alternatives. This is a precursor to the many worlds interpretation in quantum physics. Value fulfillment. This is the universe's driving force, akin to a combination of evolution and spiritual growth. It is the impulse for all consciousness to grow, expand, and create in ways that are both personally meaningful and beneficial to the whole. 5. There is no objective, concrete universe. The physical world is not the primary reality. It is a camouflage reality, a construct of the senses that allows for a specific kind of learning and interaction. It is a projection from a deeper, mental, or psychic dimension, the framework 1 and 2 concepts. 6. The framework of existence. Framework 1. Our normal waking consciousness and physical reality, governed by time, space, and cause and effect. Framework 2. The inner psychological dimension where all probabilities exist, communication is instantaneous, and from which Framework 1 is formed. It is the source of intuition, dreams, and creativity. 7. Death is a transition. Death is not an end, but a transition to another state of consciousness. The afterlife is a series of non-physical dimensions where the soul rests, reviews its past life, plans future existences, and continues to learn and grow. Reincarnation is a fact, but not as a punitive karmic cycle. Rather, it is a chosen curriculum for soul development. 8. Dreams are a gateway. Dreams are not random neural firings. They are vibrant, valid experiences in a different reality. They are a creative playground, a school for problem solving, a meeting place with other consciousnesses, and the state where much of our real work is done. 9. Spontaneous self. The ideal state of being is not one of rigid control, but of trusting the spontaneous, intuitive flow of your own being. This spontaneity is not chaotic, but is guided by the inner self's innate wisdom and drive toward value fulfillment. These are some of the core principles outlined in the Seth material. and form the foundation of the metaphysical model he presented. For additional information and background on the topic, please see our companion video, the Jane Roberts Seth material. In this episode, we are going to explore Seth's core teachings on animal consciousness. If there is one area where modern humans reveal themselves of their still primitive nature, it is in their relationship and attitudes toward the beings with which they share the earth. Humans dominate and exploit every life form on Earth in some fashion, and if one were to consider this behavior in the context of the Golden Rule, humans have a track record of abysmal failure as advanced beings. If one were to place himself in the position of any of the subordinate beings in our care, such as those in the labs, or in the pens, or the slaughterhouses, they would surely find themselves in the worst of their imaginable hells. A harsh reality worthy of reflection. Humans lie to themselves about their superiority of mind. One only has to go out in public or on the highways to observe firsthand that the human species has no superiority of mind. Humans, en masse, benefit from brief flashes of intelligence that appear rarely in a few of the beings that incarnate into the human form. These flashes illuminate technology that few understand, but benefit from greatly and mistake for intelligence. Your average modern human can't change a light bulb or make toast, let alone design an internal combustion engine. True intelligence is doled out sparingly in our species. Arrogance and hubris, on the other hand, are given freely and with abandon. With this in mind, we shall explore the Seth material with respect to animal and human consciousness, to reveal the nature of our current dysfunctional beliefs toward the very obvious sentience of our fellow beings on this earth. 1. Animals are conscious, sentient energy essences. Seth stated unequivocally that animals possess consciousness. They are not biological automatons, but are individual, sentient energy essences, focused in physical form, much like humans. They have a sense of self, emotion, and purpose. 2. Animals possess a different kind of consciousness, not a lesser one. This is a crucial point. Seth did not place animal consciousness on a linear hierarchy below humans. Instead, he described it as a different focus of consciousness. Human consciousness is intensely focused on creating a stable, predictable reality through the manipulation of symbols, language, concepts, time. It is specialized in causality and long-term planning. Animal consciousness is focused on the spontaneous, immediate, and sensory-rich present. They are exquisitely attuned to the emotional and psychic energy of their environment and other beings. Their consciousness is more fluid and less defined by a rigid, self-conscious ego. 3. Animals are in the dreaming state while awake. Seth used this poetic phrase to describe the animal's state of being. They live in a constant, fluid connection with what he called Framework 2, the inner dimension of probabilities, psychic energy, and the source of physical reality. While humans largely block this out to focus on physical data, animals are naturally open to it. This is why they can often perceive ghosts or sense earthquakes and storms before they happen. They are perceiving the psychic blueprints and energy shifts in Framework 2 as they begin to manifest in Framework 1, or physical reality. 4. They possess a form of natural telepathy. Because of their open connection to Framework 2, animals communicate primarily through telepathic empathy and the direct transmission of emotional and pictorial data. A cat doesn't just hear its owner's voice, it directly feels the emotional content behind the words, the love, anxiety, or fear. This is also how they communicate complex information within their own species and across species lines. 5. They participate in their own evolution and reality creation. Seth rejected the idea that animals are simply acted upon by evolution. He taught that, like humans, They possess a form of natural cognition and participate in shaping their own reality and species. On the topic of group consciousness and mass dreams, Seth said that animals of a species operate within a powerful group consciousness. They hold mass dreams where, on a psychic level, they make decisions about migration patterns, behavioral changes, and evolutionary adaptations. A species might dream itself into developing better camouflage or a new hunting strategy before it manifests genetically. On the matter of conscious incarnation, Seth said that animals choose their incarnations and experiences to learn and grow in their own way. An animal might choose a short, harsh life to understand vulnerability, or a long, protected life to express joy and companionship. 6. The human-animal bond is a deep psychic exchange. Pets are not merely dependent creatures. Seth described the relationship as a conscious, psychic, and mutually beneficial pact. Pets often take on the role of stabilizing the emotional and psychic energy of a household. They absorb and transmute negative energy and provide a constant, grounding flow of affection. In return, they learn from the human's intense focus on individuality and linear time, enriching their own consciousness. It is a symbiotic learning relationship. 7. There is no great divide between animal and human consciousness. Seth presented consciousness as a spectrum of manifestations, not a ladder. He suggested that the consciousness in a human is the same stuff as the consciousness in an animal, merely focused differently. He even mentioned that in other reality systems, the roles could be reversed, or that the consciousness that was once in an animal might later express itself as human, and vice versa, not through a linear reincarnation, but through the simultaneous expansion of the entity, the oversoul. On animal awareness, Seth said, "The animal is quite aware of its own consciousness, its own beingness. It is not concerned with the same issues that concern you, and so its consciousness seems to operate at a different level." On their psychic nature, Seth said, "They are much more immersed in the dream world, and the dream world is much more immersed in them." On their reality creation, the animals themselves, through their own group dreams, decided upon the various species and the differentiation into the species. In essence, Seth's view elevates animals from being lesser creatures or simple resources to being co-inhabitants of a conscious, co-creative universe, possessing their own unique, valid, and spiritually significant way of experiencing and contributing to the whole. The perspective, and more practically the behavior, of modern humans with respect to the abuse and exploitation of lesser beings is surely one of the main causes of collective harm to all beings involved. Seth did not use the modern term factory farming, but he spoke explicitly about the mass slaughter of animals and the attitudes that enable it. His commentary was unequivocal. 1. The psychic poison of mass slaughter. Seth stated that the mass killing of animals is not just a physical act, but a psychic one that pollutes the collective human psyche. The violence, fear, and terror experienced by animals in slaughterhouses do not simply vanish. This intense, negative emotional energy is emitted psychically and is absorbed by the species as a whole. He described it as a bloody mass execution that creates a heritage of killing and a psychic atmosphere of murder. This energy, he argued, contributes to a background of violence and aggression in human society. We cannot compartmentalize such systemic violence. It seeps into our collective consciousness and reinforces beliefs in aggression, cruelty, and the right to dominate the weak. 2. The arrogance of specieshood. Seth criticized the human arrogance that places our species at the center of the universe, seeing all other life as subservient. He called this a distorted sense of specieshood. This belief system justifies the exploitation of animals and the natural world, seeing them as resources rather than as conscious, sentient co-inhabitants of the planet. Factory farming is the ultimate physical manifestation of this belief, that animals are mere production units, devoid of feeling or spiritual value, existing only for human consumption. 3. The distortion of natural instincts. Seth acknowledged that in the natural course of events, some animals do prey on others. However, he drew a sharp distinction between this and the human system of mass production and slaughter. A natural predator kills out of need and is often involved in a relationship that benefits the ecosystem and the gene pool of the prey species. Human factory farming is a perversion of this. It is not born out of true need, in the modern context, but out of greed, convenience, and a disconnected, industrial mindset. It involves prolonged suffering, a complete denial of the animal's natural existence, and a mechanistic approach to life that is devoid of respect or empathy. Now let us explore how all this fits into our collective state of health. According to Seth's model, this system is both a cause and a symptom of our collective poor health, on multiple levels. 1. Our physical health. You are what you eat on an energetic level. While Seth never advocated a strict diet, he emphasized belief over specific food. He did say that you consume the energy of what you eat. Consuming the flesh of an animal that lived a life of terror, confinement, and pain means you are also taking in the physical chemical correlates of that fear and stress, such as adrenaline or cortisol, and on an intuitive level, the psychic energy of that experience. He stated that it is impossible to eat such food without also absorbing the animal's panic to some degree, which then affects your own emotional and bodily state. This contributes to a low-grade, chronic background of agitation and fear in the human population. 2. Psychological and spiritual health. The health of our beliefs. Our physical health is a direct reflection of our inner beliefs. The factory farming system is a powerful collective physical expression of several unhealthy core beliefs. The belief in powerlessness, that we are powerless to change a corrupt or cruel system. The belief in separation, that we are separate from nature and the animals we eat, and that their suffering does not affect us. The belief in unworthiness, that we do not deserve a clean, humane, and healthy food supply, so we accept a toxic one. The belief in violence, that violence is an acceptable solution to the problem of our hunger. By participating in and accepting this system, we reinforce these beliefs in our own personal lives. A society that tolerates systemic cruelty to animals will find it easier to tolerate systemic cruelty to humans, injustice, and environmental degradation. It coarsens the collective spirit. 3. The collective health of our civilization. The factory farming system is, for Seth, a profound indicator of a civilization that is out of alignment with its own value fulfillment, its positive, growth-oriented drive. A healthy civilization organizes its world in a way that supports the vitality and well-being of all its inhabitants, human, animal, and plant. A system based on concentration camps for animals, pollution of the environment, and the degradation of human labor — slaughterhouse work is notoriously traumatic — is a system that is profoundly mentally and spiritually ill. It creates a sickly civilization that is then mystified by its own high rates of cancer, heart disease, and mental illness. So what is the Sethian solution? Seth did not issue a blanket command for everyone to become vegetarian. His approach was more nuanced and focused on the underlying causes. First, there must be a change in beliefs. The primary work is to challenge and change the core beliefs that make such a system seem acceptable. This involves recognizing the consciousness of animals, confronting the arrogance of specieshood, and embracing our connection to all life. Humans must learn to follow their own spontaneous self. He advised individuals to listen to their own bodies and intuitions. For some, this may lead to a natural revulsion and a decision to stop eating meat. For others, it might mean seeking out meat from sources where the animal was treated with respect and lived a natural life. Then there must be collective action through individual awakening. As enough individuals change their beliefs and their actions, the mass reality will shift. The cruel system will lose its psychic and economic support and will collapse, to be replaced by one that better reflects the new, healthier beliefs of the population. In summary, for Seth, the modern factory farming system is a glaring symptom of a deep-seated psychic illness in humanity, a failure of empathy, a worship of disconnected rationality, and a violation of the natural world. Its existence is a major contributor to our collective poor health, not just physically through the quality of the food, but psychically and spiritually through the violent and fearful energy it injects into our shared reality. When one considers that there is no qualitative difference in the sentience of the lesser life forms we abuse and consume without regard, it places the nobility of our species not just in question, but in contempt. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, and thank you for watching.